2 sheets of paper sat on that desk. One was full. One was empty. And somehow, the empty one said everything. Stay with me for a moment. Because what you're about to hear didn't happen in a movie. It happened in a small, quiet office. 2 people walked in, expecting to end their marriage, and somehow, they walked out holding hands. Daniel and Grace had been married for 9 years. To everyone watching from the outside, they were the perfect couple. Same pew every Sunday. Same warm smiles. The kind of couple people mentioned, like they were one word. Daniel and Grace. But behind closed doors, the silence had grown louder than any argument. It started small, the way all storms do. A forgotten anniversary. A careless word after a long day. Grace feeling unseen. Daniel feeling unwelcome. Neither of them saying it out loud. Because saying it out loud would make it real. By year 9, they were sleeping in the same bed like strangers sharing a park bench, close enough to touch, too far gone to try. Then, one Sunday, Sister Evelyn noticed. She was the kind of woman who didn't pry, but she saw. After service, she gently pulled Grace aside, looked her in the eyes, and asked the question Grace had been praying no one would ask. "My daughter, are you all right at home?" Grace held herself together for exactly 3 seconds. Then she didn't. Now, Sister Evelyn could have given advice. She could have quoted scripture. She could have told Grace to pray harder. But what she said instead is the reason this story has an ending worth telling. She said quietly, "Don't fight this alone. Go see someone who can help you both." The drive to the counselor's office was the longest 9 minutes of their marriage. No music, no argument, no words. Just 2 people sitting close enough to touch and choosing not to. Daniel sat in the waiting room with his arms crossed, convinced this was a mistake. Grace sat beside him, convinced he would say nothing, like he always did. They had been married 9 years, and somehow they had never felt more alone. Her name was Dr. Adaeze, a marriage counselor known not for having all the answers, but for asking the questions couples were too afraid to ask each other. She welcomed them in, offered water, and let the silence breathe for a moment. Then she looked at them both and said something that made them shift in their seats. "I'm not here to take sides. I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to help you see each other again, if you're willing." She slid 2 sheets of paper across the desk, one for Grace, one for Daniel. "Tonight," she said, "write 5 things you love about your spouse and 5 things you hate. Be honest. This is not for them. This is for the truth." Simple enough, or so they thought. That night, Grace sat alone at her desk. The love came easily. So did the frustration. She wrote every word, carefully, honestly, the way you write something you've been carrying for a very long time. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, one lamp on, the house quiet. He wrote too. Every grievance, every quiet hurt, every moment he felt invisible. Then he read them back, and one by one, he erased them. Because every single thing he wrote, he could see her side of it every time. He could see his own part in it. He stared at that blank page for a long time. Then he put the pen down and said nothing. The next morning, Dr. Adaeze placed both envelopes on the desk. "Let's start with love," she said. She opened Grace's envelope. "I love that Daniel still opens the car door for me, even when we're fighting." Daniel stared at the table. "I love that he checks if I've eaten before he eats." His jaw tightened. "I love how his voice sounds when he's talking to our children." He swallowed hard. "I love that he has never, not once, raised his hand to me." The room sat with that, and then the last line. "And I love that even when I pushed him away, he stayed." Daniel didn't move. His jaw shifted slowly, the way a man's jaw moves when he's trying very hard not to feel something in front of people. Then it was Daniel's turn. "I love Grace's laugh," Dr. Adaeze read. "It sounds like it surprises even her." Grace blinked. "I love how she remembers everyone's birthday, but somehow forgets our anniversary. Despite everything." Grace almost smiled. "I love that she calls her mother every single day. I love how she fights for our children like a lioness. And I love that after 9 years." Dr. Adaeze paused. "She still smells like the first day I met her." One tear slid down Grace's cheek, just one. But it said everything. Then Dr. Adaeze folded her hands. "Now," she said softly, "the harder list." She opened Grace's second envelope, and Grace had thoughts. "I hate the way Daniel eats." Daniel looked up slowly. "He chews like the food personally offended him, and he is punishing it." His eyebrows lifted. "I hate that he leaves his socks. Not in the laundry basket, not beside the laundry basket, but in a third location no one has ever discovered." Daniel covered his mouth. "I hate that he snores, not a gentle snore, a snore with a schedule, and a grand finale at 3 in the morning." His shoulders began shaking. "I hate that when I'm talking to him and the TV is on. I can literally see the moment he stops hearing me. And I hate that he never asks for directions, but will drive in circles for 45 minutes like we're touring the city." By the third complaint, Daniel was holding back laughter. By the fourth, his shoulders were gone. By the fifth, he burst out laughing. Not a polite laugh, a real laugh, the kind that had been locked somewhere inside him for months, and Grace, seeing him laugh at himself, she laughed too. For the first time in months, they laughed together. Dr. Adaeze waited quietly. Then she picked up Daniel's envelope, opened it, looked at the page, turned it over, looked again. She gently placed it on the desk. "Daniel, your second sheet is blank." The room went silent. Grace stared at the page, then at Daniel. Confusion, suspicion, then something softer. "Did you not complete the assignment?" Dr. Adaeze asked. Daniel took a breath. "I sat with that paper for 2 hours," he said. "I thought about every frustration, every moment I felt unseen. I wrote them down, then I read them back, and every single one. I could see her side of it. I could see my part." He paused, "So I erased them, one by one, until the page was empty." Grace was no longer smiling. "It's not that our marriage isn't hard," he continued. "It's that when I imagine my life without her, even the hard parts, I don't want that life. I don't hate anything about her. I get frustrated. I get tired. But hate?" He shook his head slowly. "No, I love her, even the parts that drive me crazy." The room was completely still. Grace looked at him, really looked at him, maybe for the first time in years, and she whispered, "Why didn't you just tell me?" Daniel answered quietly, "Because I didn't have the words. Until tonight." Her hand reached across the desk, found his. He turned his hand over, and held it. Dr. Adaeze said nothing. Some moments don't need words. They didn't fix everything that day. Marriage doesn't work like that. There were more sessions, more late-night conversations, more moments where Grace chose patience, and Daniel chose to speak before silence swallowed him again. Daniel still eats. Like the food owes him money. Grace still forgets the anniversary, and the socks are still appearing in uncharted locations. But sometimes Grace wakes up at 3 in the morning and hears that familiar snore. She doesn't reach for a pillow anymore. She just watches him sleep, his chest rising, falling, his ear twitching mid-snore, and in the dark, she smiles, because he's there. And now, she knows. That's everything. 2 sheets of paper, one full, one empty. She wrote everything she hated. He couldn't write a single thing, so before you go, think about the person you love most, not who they used to be, not who you wish they were. but who they are today, with all their beautiful, maddening, imperfect truth.